Hey, welcome to the Connect podcast. I'm Cole Phillips, and this is my beautiful bride, Pam. And we are excited today because we're going to be getting into God's word, to get God's word into our life, to get it out of our life, into the world around us. And we have been in this series going through Song of Solomon, talking about the rooted romance. And there's a lot in here, and there's a lot in marriage that we want to talk about and help with. Unfortunately, we're only doing this for like 5 weeks, which is a lot of time, but there's still more. And so today, I want to sort of get in a bonus discussion that we're not going to be able to talk about on Sundays. And we're going to be talking about the issue of conflict in marriage. And nobody goes into marriage thinking, we're going to get married and then I'm going to do everything I can to ruin this person's life. And they're going to do everything they can to make me miserable. And we'll just kind of fight it out. And that's not the goal. That's not the dream. And yet a lot of the conflict we have is over the little things. We fight about things like whether you roll the toothpaste up from the bottom of the tube or you squeeze it in the middle. Those are differences that can cause conflict. Yes.
And I was schooled early on in that. Yes.
So, yeah, there's actually a patent on that. You can look it up on Google and you can see the way
Pray for me.
it's designed. Unless you want to limit toilet paper usage, and if you want to like ration it, it's probably better to roll it backwards, and then it's more difficult to deal with, right?
It's not that technical. We all need it.
And it can be tough sometimes. So conflict is a part of every relationship. And if you have conflict in your marriage, then welcome to the human race and welcome to marriage, because it's part of it. You may think, no, we fight in a special way. Well, probably not. There's probably others that deal with the same issues. Because every couple eventually discovers that marriage is two imperfect people trying to build a life together. And you can't put two imperfect people together and expect something perfect. There's going to be conflict, and it's actually healthy, but we have to learn the rules of engagement. We have to learn how to do it, how to fight fair. And it's funny, even in, the world, in governments, there's rules of engagement. Of course, in boxing or wrestling or whatever, you've got rules. And yet in the context of marriage, many times it's kind of a free for all, and the rules go out the window. And so, because a lot of times we don't even know the rules. Yeah. Yeah. But it's important to care, because otherwise you can do incredible damage that's far beyond what you intended.
Right.
But let's talk about conflict being normal. If we look back into Song of Solomon in chapter 5, verse 2, she says, I slept, but my heart was awake. Have you ever experienced that before? Listen, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampness of the night. I've taken off my robe. Must I put it on again? I've washed my feet. Must I soil them again? My beloved thrust his hand through the latch opening. My heart began to pound for him. I rose to open for my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, fingers with flowing myrrh on the handles of the bolt. I opened for my beloved, but my beloved had left. He was gone. My heart sank at the departure. I looked for him and did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer. Whoa. There's some conflict there. And even the greatest love story in the Bible includes that reality, and the disappointment, the heartache, and the expectation, or the unmet expectations that we have. There's an emotional disconnect that happens where we're just not on the same frequency. There's a timing mismatch that happens. She's thinking one thing, he's thinking another. So why do you think, Pam, that people assume conflict means something is wrong?
Because there's strife, there's turmoil, you're not feeling in sync with each other when you're having some conflict. It doesn't feel good usually. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Conflict
Mm-hmm.
is not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we fear it because probably because of experiences of the past and seeing how conflict has been handled to hurt and to wound. And you see, you learn this from your parents. And by the way, that's why I think it's important that we talk to people who say, I never saw my parents fight. Well, that's not necessarily a good thing because you go then into marriage thinking you're not going to have any fights and you do, and you think something's wrong. So I think better than hiding your fights from your kids is to show them what healthy conflict looks like and what healthy resolution looks like and forgiveness looks like.
There are a lot of nuances to it. You may be getting into this in a moment, but depending on what your family of origin was like, some of us come into marriage conflict avoidant. You don't like conflict
Mm-hmm.
because, for instance, if you're like you, an adult child of an alcoholic, you avoid conflict. And so there are a lot of nuances to that.
Yeah, some people love it. They just, I'm looking for conflict and they love a good fight. Other people, they think, I just don't want to have anything to do with it. There's some healthy balance between that. You shouldn't enjoy it, but you don't have to fear it if you're doing it in a healthy way. They say that when you break a bone, especially when you're younger, I guess it grows back stronger. When you really talk something out and you talk through it and you come to terms together, you go, okay, we've grown. We have a better understanding of each other.
It is
We
difficult in marriage because you are wanting, at least for me, and I think for most women, you want to be validated. You want to please the other person, and when you're at conflict, you feel like you're not doing any of that. You're not being validated, and you're not pleasing the other person.
mm,
There's something they're calling out the wrong in you. You have to have a healthy view of yourself,
huge. That's huge.
so that you can have a healthy view of the relationship. But if you
Yes.
feel lack in yourself, then when it comes to having conflict, it's going to bring out that lack in in the way that you feel, but also how you feel together.
And I think having security in the
Mhm.
relationship and knowing that even though we disagree and maybe we don't like each other very much right now, that we still have a commitment. So we take the D word off the table. We
Yeah,
don't use it as a threat. I'm gone. I'm leaving you. We seal the escape hatch
yeah.
shut and we say we're in this. And so we've either got to work it out or we're going to stay upset. And nobody wants to do that for too long. But one of the issues with conflict is that we see the highlight reels on social media
Yeah,
and we
totally.
see these, supposed great love stories, or you see them in the media and the movies or stories or
Yeah.
whatever, those
You have to
great
remind yourself
expectations.
that
You grew up loving the Cinderella story, and that's that fairy tale of happily ever after. And there's these great expectations that we have. We're like, this is going to be so perfect, and not everything is that perfect. What did you just say? Do you remember what you just said before I got into that? I don't remember. I thought I was going to react to something that you said or respond. The myth of perfect marriages.
I just said that's not real.
Yeah. Okay.
What's on social media,
Yeah.
that's not real.
Yeah. And then at the same time, though, I want to just kind of come back and go, but it doesn't mean that the opposite of that, which is sort of like, okay, I've got to settle for just average, just something that is not great. You can actually have something beautiful and great, and romantic and all these things. It's just doesn't always look the way we think it's going to look. And so there's moments where it's very connected and very great, and then there's moments when it's just not all that because it's real life and there's ups and downs and other stressors and things that are kind of out of our control, whether it's health issues or financial issues or kid issues or go on and on and on the list. And so that's why it's important. And I was actually talking in the lobby with somebody about this. They were saying, how do we, because on Sunday we talked about the differences and sometimes you just want to go, I'm just done. I can't figure this out. And I said, my advice first was take her hand. There's conflict. Take her hand and say, let's pray about this. And you pray. And I said, I don't know how that'd be received in the moment, because if it's conflict, it may not be received, or you may end up, as you're praying, you may end up preaching or saying, here's what you should think, or all this. Yeah. Yeah. But here's what I ended up saying. I said, okay, forget all that I said. That was bad advice. I said, what you want to do is you want to do the things that are preventative instead of the things that are trying to fix a problem in the making. And so the preventative is building the relationship in the times when there's not conflict, that you're
people get married just thinking the idea that love is all we need. Like love,
living on love.
yeah, like love is the cure for all things. And as long as we have that sense of and that feeling of love, then everything's going to be fine. But that quickly fades,
Yeah.
and you have to be intentional, and you cannot put that on pause.
So good. Love is not a feeling, though love can produce feelings. Love is a verb. Love is an action and a choice. Love is a choice that we make. And that means doing something about it, doing something to show and demonstrate your love. And like I said, in those times when there's not conflict, that you go, okay, let's pray. Okay, let's build and share our hearts and anyway, that sort of thing. So conflict is not evidence that you're wrong. It's evidence that you're a person. And so it's two people. And like we said on Sunday, two people, we've got these differences. And if we agreed on everything, if we thought exactly alike, then one of us wouldn't be necessary. But there's some essential things that we do want to think alike about. And I think, that is our faith in Jesus. Though there's some, core things. It's just like, I guess, in a church, you've got the core issues and then
There has to be alignment on the big areas in your life. You really do have to have alignment when it comes to your faith. Otherwise,
yeah.
that's a big red flag. Head into some trouble if you don't have alignment with that. You've got to have some alignment in.
So, I mean, there's not a lot you can do to fix it necessarily, but I think maybe one way to fix that is to say, I'm going to dive into my church and learn and grow. And then you're growing in the same direction, spending time in that and developing those relationships and all the things that go along with it. Let's talk about the roots of conflict. We've already kind of addressed one of them, and that is the unmet expectations. We have great expectations, and here's the expectation, and here's the, reality. And the reality many times falls short of what we expect. Now, one of the things we haven't talked about it. What do we expect? What are we wanting? And so the other person just doesn't know.
Yeah, I feel so certain that we did not talk about expectations before we
Very little.
got
Very
married.
little.
And there were just these unwritten expectations, I feel like, for both of us.
Assumptions.
Assumptions, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then that led to a lot of,
Disappointment.
yes, and ultimately conflict
Yeah.
for us.
And
So you can talk about those things, like and you can even redraw the line. I don't care how long you've been married. You can redraw the lines and say, "Hey, we need to talk about these things. Things like who's taking out the trash and who's doing the dishes, and
mm-hmm.
are you doing your own laundry,
Mm-hmm.
or am I doing all the laundry?" And all even sexual expectations, all of the things. So if those are things that you haven't laid the groundwork for, you haven't talked about, it's okay to go ahead and let's talk about them so that we can get on the same page with each other and quit spinning in a cycle.
Do you remember something that in particular that when we got married, you thought that I thought or that I would do or that you thought I thought a certain thing and I didn't? Can you think of something like that?
Well, I don't know for sure. I mean, I think I just thought that the wife did all of the chores except for maybe taking out the trash. Like
Hmm.
I was responsible for every chore, including your laundry, all the cleaning, all the cooking, all the shopping, all those things, with the exception of maybe taking out the trash. And maybe this is because that's what was sort of modeled for me. I don't really know.
I think the standard maybe depending on your family of origin, the standard sort of unspoken agreement is that she takes care of the inside chores, he takes care of the outside chores like mowing the yard,
Mhm.
maybe with the cars, maybe the trash, whatever like that.
Mostly, yeah.
I kind of cringe at that when I talk to couples in premarital counseling and or when you do counseling after you're married and there's this sort of rigid line of I'm not going to help in the house
Mhm.
with the things. It's like what is your deal?
Yeah, I don't think you ever said I wouldn't help. I just think I didn't think that was your responsibility. But then I had some resentment because I was carrying a big load. And somewhere, I don't know, around year 20,
And it takes a while for
but
men to grow up.
some other things started happening and you started doing your own laundry and you were doing dishes, which thank the Lord, because I hate doing that. Just other things started to surface
Yeah,
where
many times guys will just be like, hey, if you're doing it, have at it. And of course,
sure.
I like to, in our premarital counseling, I like to show that video from the Jennifer Aniston, Vince Vaughn movie called The Breakup, where they're fighting over the dishes
Yeah.
and they're going, I don't want you to do the dishes. I want you to want to do the dishes. And
Right.
he says, why would I want to do the dishes?
Right.
And
I think that's a true feeling though. Like, no, I don't want you to do the dishes. I just want you to want to
want to help.
engage,
Yeah.
to
To
be
be.
involved. Yeah.
And so that would fall under the domestic support,
Yeah.
which is one of the needs that women have. But if you have an expectation and you're not communicating it, then it turns into, for you, if I expect you to do something, but I'm not communicating that to you, then I start to resent it that you don't know, but I haven't said
Yeah,
anything
I
to
think one
you.
of those areas that was big for a long time for me was, for instance, for my birthday or for Christmas or for whatever, getting me a gift or being thoughtful. I just thought, you should know me. You
Yeah,
should know exactly what I want for a
that would be
gift.
awesome. That would be so great.
You should be able to essentially read my mind and you should know me and I shouldn't have to tell you these things.
Mhm.
Well, newsflash, most guys aren't mind readers and vice versa. Women have a little more intuitiveness, I think, when it comes to that. They kind of think about it a little bit more and they keep their finger on the pulse of what would, you know,
Maybe listening for hints and
right.
things like that.
And guys normally aren't wired that way. I'm not going to say all guys, but most of them aren't. So don't expect them to be a mind reader. If you want a certain thing for your birthday or Christmas, make the list, send the link, and
And
then you will not be disappointed.
I love the Amazon list, the wish list, and I have that. And so if I see something, I'm not going to get it for myself, then
Right.
I just drop it in there. And
Right.
sometimes it stays in there for a long time,
Yeah.
but it's
Because
there.
things happen.
Yes, yes, yes. So another cause of conflict is simply selfishness,
Yeah.
just that we're selfish people and we think of what we want. It's not you. The biggest lie I think that's been pulled on American culture is this incompatibility as grounds for divorce. We're all
All
incompatible,
incompatible. Yeah.
so we've got to, that's not grounds for
Right.
divorce. Yeah,
Right.
we've got to learn how to do this. So it's selfishness. And we have this, what about me? Nobody gets me. Nobody cares about me mindset. And we think we deserve it. We think something is owed to us. And really, marriage should be a serving contest. We see who can outserve the other. It's dying to yourself. And of course, particularly the challenges for men to lay down their lives for their wives, like Christ laid down his life for the church. But it's also true for women. There's a level of sacrifice. Sometimes we put our spouse in the place of God,
That's
that
right.
they could meet some need that we have, that ultimately only God can meet that need. And so your spouse may be amazing, they may be awesome, but they're a terrible God in your
Right.
life and replacement for God. So God is God, and he's the one who's going to ultimately meet the deepest needs of your life.
Yeah, and I think people get married with that idea of that other person is going to complete me, right? They're
Yeah.
gonna fix me. They're gonna fill up all the cracks that I have. That's how my life is gonna be awesome because of this other person that is going to ultimately fix all my problems. And that's not what
No,
happened.
no. And that becomes this real codependent kind of relationship where, we've got to have this other person make us whole. I mean, there's a part of that we teach that is true in terms of complete. We complement one another.
Sure, that's different.
Um, yeah. So there's also another cause of conflict. Root cause is pride, where I say, I am right, you're wrong. I am not going to apologize. You're the one that's going to apologize. Keeping score, saying you never do this and I'm winning. Like, you can win the battle and lose the war. You can win and you can do damage to yourself. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's that, keeping score.
Yes, I agree. I'm smiling because I'm just thinking we've been through all of these stages in our relationship.
And then because of our pride, sometimes we just shut down emotionally. I
Sure.
don't want to engage with you.
I'm the best. I'm the winner at that. Like I'll just like try to not talk to you for a couple days. I've done that. Remember times in my
I don't
past.
remember that.
I know. I know. Because you don't keep score.
Pride keeps marriages stuck longer than the problems. And sometimes we compound the problems just because of our pride. The
Yeah,
problem itself, it's funny because, we talk about the causes of conflict, but a lot of times these problems, they can be the smallest,
for
silliest
sure.
thing, but we can make them bigger. So how do rooted couples handle conflict? Because conflict is going to happen, but how do healthy couples handle them? And the first thing I would say is to act and not just react. Okay. So in Romans, let's read Romans 12:21 that tells us this. Romans 12:21 tells us, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Reaction is usually going to be compounding the problem, but pausing and thinking, how can I act in this situation to bring us the other direction, to bring us healing, to bring restoration? So reaction is responding emotionally.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of maturity and practice in dealing with conflict to be able to react that way. We're going to talk about these practical things, but being able to pause long
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
to think through what is actually happening, to process what is actually being said instead of thinking about your comeback and how you're going to zing the other person and how you're really going to get them instead of listening with intention, listening with heart, listening to understand.
We use our words as weapons,
Right.
and you may think it, but once you say it, once you put it out there, well, I didn't mean it. Yeah, but you said it. So what's inside when we're squeezed? comes out. I use the illustration of toothpaste, and you squeeze that toothpaste, the toothpaste comes out because it's inside, but you can't get it back in the
The
tube.
worst,
You
yeah.
can't get it back in there. And certainly there can be forgiveness, but man, those scars remain. So action is spirit led, is saying, I'm not going to be self controlled, but I'm going to be spirit controlled. And so it's okay in the heat, and the other person may not like it, but you say, okay, instead of engaging right now, I'm going to walk away. And that way I take a moment to think and to pray and to get my head right so that we can engage and be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to anger. Usually we do that opposite. We are quick to speak, and we're slow to listen, and we're quick to become
Right.
angry.
A lot of that is power wired. I know that's been a lot of my problem. I already come at it at these situations not feeling good and confident about myself. So then when there's conflict, it's like, okay, wait a second, this is personal. It always feels super personal to me because I haven't always felt good about myself to start with. You gotta work on your own self to avoid some of this conflict with your spouse.
Yeah. And husbands, I would say we just need to be intentional about making sure our wives know that they're, beautiful and chosen and all the good things about them, and just pour that into them. The second this healthy couples respond is to focus on the good. So Philippians 4:8
Yeah,
says, finally, brothers
my
and
favorite.
sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So it's so easy to go negative. It's so easy to see the worst and assume the worst about the other person, and to what we do with the offense. We talk about how we have this budget, this production. It's like a movie in our mind, and something happens, but we go in and we add the CGI, and we add all the special effects and the explosions, and we make it into this massive thing because we're trying to make it as bad as possible to justify ourselves, and we're really not even responding to the actual offense as much as we're bringing in things from the past, right?
Always.
Yeah, and we're still hurt about the things from the past, but with gratitude, thinking about the good, thinking about the commitment and all of the good things, and being grateful and thankful, that will rewire your relationship. And just taking time to think about, what do I appreciate about my spouse? Tell them what you appreciate about them. And, thankfully, and texting is not a great way to communicate, but thankfully, we have that little tool there at our disposal to just send. You think about it and it's good. You send the text, because whatever you magnify in your marriage multiplies. You're going to get more of. If are thinking negatively about your marriage, it's going to go in that direction.
Well, I would just say if you're negative in general, which I always have think the worst case scenario. I'm the what if person. I'm always kind of framing things in that negative light. I don't know if that's just like fear in me. I don't know. I keep working on it. And he's Mr. Optimistic. And so we're very different. We come at things very differently. That's also a challenge with dealing with the conflict. So that's why I love Philippians 4:8 so much, because it just reminds me consistently, constantly think on the good things, reframe everything. Also, Cole always is telling everyone put a 10 on their forehead, meaning they're
See the best, believe the best. Even when somebody isn't acting their best, I've been surprised by people many times that I thought, nah, that they're not going to do much, they're not going to accomplish much. And then you look and they're just killing it. They're doing amazing things. And I should have seen that in their life. And to want to call that out of people's lives. And you can call that out of your spouse, the greatness that God has put in their life.
yes. Now we do realize that there are extenuating circumstances. There are real things that people are doing to step outside of their marriage. There's abuse, there's all kinds of things. So we're not saying
To
you
overlook that.
to
No, no,
overlook
no.
that or just accept those kinds of things. Don't get that wrong. We're not saying to put up with those things. Those are really hardcore situations. We're mainly talking about the day to day in marriage, normal things that you deal with being a married couple.
So another thing that we can do is to talk, don't walk. Ephesians 4:26 and 27 says, in your anger, do not sin, because you're going to get angry. It's going to happen. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. You give the devil an inch, he's going to take a mile. And that's all he needs in your marriage. So, Pam and I, there have been times where we say, well, we just haven't slept in a week, or we haven't, no, we just,
Not
that's not
true.
true.
I have sacrificing my sleep. And I honestly, I would say we both would say it is it's probably not a good idea to stay up fighting about it
And
all
fight,
night.
fight about it.
There is a moment where you just have to table it and say, well, we need to get a clear mind. We need some rest. We need to come back to this at a different moment. So
But that doesn't mean avoiding it. That doesn't mean leaving and going to your mother's or
no,
something like that.
no, we're just saying, like, don't stay up all you know, don't literally stay up all night fighting about something that isn't going to get solved at
hmm
that moment.
hmm
Come back to it.
Well, part of it is, are you going to choose to bring up a difficult situation or a time that you've been offended? You've just laid down in bed, you're about to go to sleep. Now you're going to bring this thing up, and timing matters. So you
Yeah.
pick the right time, and your tone matters. How do you say it? Deal with one issue at a time, not just throw the whole kitchen sink at someone. Yeah. And then be willing to pray. Be willing to pray together, because God can bring healing into places that we can't fix, but God can do things that we can't do. What do you think is something that we had to learn the hard way about conflict?
Well, I think I just learned everything the hard way. Yeah, no, I mean, there were times early on, especially the first year of our marriage, I did not I didn't do conflict well at all. And we didn't do conflict well at all. And it was mostly me being upset and me feeling you're not upset enough, and just because we're different in the ways that we would
Yeah. And we were
handle
so
conflict.
young. We were 20 and 21 years old.
And you had seen your parents one way, and I'd seen my parents another way. Those were just the unwritten rules that we
Well,
had.
your mom was a strong, outspoken woman, and your dad was more
Passive.
compliant. And so you are a strong, outspoken woman, but I haven't been quite as compliant
Yeah.
as your
Gosh,
dad
it only
was.
took us 35 years to figure that out.
Our problem was we didn't feel like we could go to people and get the help that we needed.
Yes. Yes. And so we just also want to encourage you to like reach out to people here at the church. Trusted people. Do not run to Facebook or Instagram
Oh,
and
please.
put your stuff on there.
Yeah. What do y'all think about this? You're just
Not-
asking random
not
people to
gonna
pool their ignorance.
Yes, you're not going to get the answers that you want, and they're probably going to lead to further destruction. But there are people who have walked where you have walked before, and they can give you wise counsel. And so seek wise counsel.
And that has helped us. Like, we have had people in our lives that are supportive. We have many times made it a priority to go to conferences to build our marriage, or,
Pay for counseling.
yeah, yeah. Um, so, conflict can actually deep, and instead of being something that you look at as destructive, it can actually be building if you do it in a healthy way. And the good news is, in Song of Solomon, chapter 6, their relationship was restored, and they reconciled together, and their love grew and grew more mature. We've talked about the concept of the seasons of marriage, and that winter doesn't just happen one time, it happens over and over. But when you address it and you're willing to work through it, then you are starting to build trust. You're starting to build the awareness that we're in this together and we've had the years. And if you've been together a number of years, to just trade that in is a bigger cost.
And we just always tell couples the relationship that you're in is the best shot at you having a happy relationship.
Well, and statistics bear that out as well. It's crazy. First marriages, we know the sort of the 50% statistic, which is a little misleading, but it is a lot of marriages that end in divorce. But then you'd think second time they would learn better, if not, then the third time. But every increasing marriage actually has a higher divorce rate than the previous.
Yes. So there's power in the staying.
And you grow through it and you grow more dependent on the
Yes,
Lord.
but both people have to want to stay.
And when we say these things are issues of selfishness and they're issues of pride, what we're really saying is they're issues of sin.
Yeah.
They're sin issues in us. One of my definitions of sin is you got that little 3-letter word SIN, and I is in the very center of that word. I is in the very center of my life. It's in the very center of my heart, where God wants to be,
Right.
where Jesus should have his throne. And thankfully, even though we've been in conflict with God, God pursued us. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us in Romans 5:8. We see that not when we fixed ourselves, not when we got our act together, but while we're in the middle of the mess of our sin. And so that's the picture, not only of what Jesus does for us, but what we need to do for each other. Having those conversations and just saying, how can I meet a need in your life? Is there something I'm doing that, is good? Is there something I'm doing that needs improvement? And being willing to hear those hard things that,
Yes, you have to receive it. You can't be offended when someone says, "Hey, here's what I think." You got to really think, "Okay, how can I do better with that? How can
yeah.
I?" And out of the desire to strengthen your relationship with each other, but also out of your desire to grow spiritually, to have a better connection with God. I
hmm
think all of that goes together.
hmm And to pray together. And we reinforce that all the time, how
And we
important that
haven't
is.
always been able to do that, and sometimes that's felt weird, but I don't feel weird about it anymore. Like, I will just even last night, I grabbed your hand, I said, "We need to pray,"
hmm
and and so we did, and
Most of the time, they're not going to say, forget that. They're
right,
going to say, okay, we'll do that.
yeah,
And ask, how can I serve you? How can I serve you today? How can I serve you this week? And look for those ways that you can do it, seen and seen.
yeah, and instead of thinking, "I shouldn't have to tell you," just tell them. Just tell them what you need so that there is no ambiguity in the situation, and there aren't those unmet expectations.
Strong relationships are not built by avoiding the conflict. If the conflict is there, it's there. You want to address it in a healthy way. You want to learn how to love each other through it, how to learn how to communicate, and God can do something beautiful far beyond. It may not be what was according to your great expectation, but it can be something even deeper, more rooted, more beautiful when you choose to forgive, you choose to stay even when it's hard. And so I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about wrapping up this series this coming Sunday as we look at how we're rooted to last and rooted to go the distance.
So it's going to be an exciting Sunday as we hear that. Sometimes we're going to hear things that are hard and that we're going to have to flesh out during the week. Um, but marriage is not easy. But when you put Jesus in the middle
Mm,
of it, it makes it so much better. And so we want to encourage you to keep pursuing Jesus. And we give that picture of as you're both pursuing Jesus, you're getting closer and closer together as you're doing that at the same time. And so we want to encourage you to
that's a good word.
keep doing that.
All right. Well, have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.